What made you finally realize that the black sheep of your family deserved better? Growing up as the youngest child meant I molded myself to be the type to only speak when spoken to, because the last thing I wanted was to be like my older sister, Millie. Whenever my dad abused me or my brother, she refused to ignore it. One time, we were all on holiday in Florida when I was wearing jean shorts. I must have been 12, while our brother Evan was 13 and Millie was 15. My dad lightly slapped my thigh and told me I was getting fat. I was a size US 2. I glared at my sister, warning her not to say anything, and she wasn't going to until my dad tugged on the end of my shorts and told me to cover up. That's when she went off. What the F did dad just say? She asked my mom, who was also trying to get her to shut up. Suddenly, the entire room, including me, started screaming at her, told her how she was a troublemaker. Looking back, I obviously regret it, but I was brainwashed, because somehow my parents had convinced me that it's their responsibility to be abusive. But speaking back was what caused an issue. And it didn't stop there, because that's when Evan did the only form of protection he knew at the time. He plastered this boyish smirk on his face, pretending like he didn't give an F about anything my dad did or said. Next thing I knew, our dad was yelling at Evan and threatening to hit him. So that night, Millie slept in the same bed as us, covering Evan in case our dad came in the middle of the night and tried anything. But as the years continued, things only got worse. Evan used to be a sweet boy. He used to tuck me and Millie in with a blanket whenever we fell asleep on the couch. Tell us that we were pretty, but as my dad got more abusive, so did he. So by the time he was 16, he was just another angry man in the house. But Millie never lost her flair of assertiveness, and I continued to be the one to cry at the first sign of conflict. This dynamic pretty much continued until Millie was in senior year. It was the night before her SAT, and we were all sitting around the table eating dinner. She was the only one in our family that cared about school. Her hands were trembling. She had that faraway look in her eye. Well, that's when she asked Evan to stop chewing with his mouth open. "You're going to fail your SATs and be an effing failure for the rest of your life," he yelled. Suddenly, Millie stood up in tears and ran up to her bedroom. My dad began shouting at the top of his lungs, his voice echoing off the walls. Meanwhile, I stayed in the kitchen, texting Millie and asking why she would react to him saying that she had once again destroyed the peace in our family. We didn't see her much after that. She was always at her friend's house or secretly out partying, and I never texted her either, because to me, she was the one who had destroyed the family. But the less I saw her, the more I realized how wrong I was, because suddenly I became the new scapegoat. Every day my dad was barking orders at me, and no matter what I did, it wasn't enough. Meanwhile, even he was too scared of Evan to tell him to do anything. But Millie never stopped trying for me. Once in a while, she would come home and criticize our parents, and I didn't even appreciate it until one day, when our dad caught Evan putting his wet clothes on top of my mom's dry ones. Dad was screaming at Evan, when suddenly my name was called for me to come into the living room. As soon as I walked in, my dad called me an ugly beach who couldn't keep my brother in control. And while I silently processed his words, he pushed me over the coffee table. Tears were streaming down my face and fear filled my veins. When I tried to stand back up, he kicked the back of my legs and knocked me over again. "Get the EF out of here." Well, he didn't have to tell me twice. I immediately ran to the bathroom and locked the door. I called the first person I could think of, Millie. I told her everything. She talked to me in that soft voice that always managed to calm me down. As I sat on the cold bathroom floor, my dad screamed at me again and ordered me to clean the kitchen. So I hung up with no explanation. Well, 20 minutes later, I heard the front door silently creak open. Millie walked in with her 6'4" muscular boyfriend. I stared at her with fear, not wanting to leave in case my dad punished me even worse. And I guess she picked up on it, because she immediately grabbed my hand. Her eyes were filled with comfort, like she knew what she was doing. Before I knew it, she had convinced me to leave with her, and we went to an apartment I didn't even know she had been renting out. I tucked myself into bed, and she asked me to again explain what happened, to tell her what she had missed. But I didn't want to think about it anymore. I just wanted to focus on the Halloween party that I had planned for the next day. So I violently shook my head and Millie nodded before ordering me McDonald's. But I never got to go to my party, because the next day, my mom texted me about how I had to come home, how Millie had done enough damage to all of us, and I believed her. But as soon as I walked in the door, my dad hit me so hard I blacked out. The rest of the full story is on my channel and linked below.